Episode 260 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by the Adelphi Racing Club.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal racing experience. Looking to own thoroughbred racehorses and win at the highest level circuits? We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Experience the Adelphi difference. Join the club today. Contact us to get a taste of the Adelphi experience and come hang with us this Saratoga meet.
And now let's start episode 260 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 260 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on a special edition. It is the 148th running of the Preakness Stakes from Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore, Maryland. We'll be talking about the all-stakes late pick 5 that ends in the Preakness with a special guest, Craig Wilkowski from Timeform U.S. This show is going to be off the charts. I can't wait to tell you all about our picks and the great card on Saturday. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. On the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we are over 2,200 subscribers and growing. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. All that does is tells the YouTube algorithm this is a fantastic podcast and people should check it out who enjoy gambling or horse racing. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you know when new content will rise, and also smash that like button right now. Hit that like button, that thumbs up button, do it right now. That also helps us here on the show. You can follow me on Twitter on the name tag at @HKravitz, and you can see on the email below on the scroll, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We have Power Picks. This is a fantastic tip sheet. Look below the video player. I just literally 20 minutes ago sent out a 5-page Power Pick tip sheet for Friday's card, the Black Eyed Susan's Day, and then Friday night, tomorrow night as we're filming, I'll be sending out a 9 to 10 page tip sheet for Preakness Day. If you've not subscribed to the Power Picks, check it out. Look below the video player for information about our fantastic, successful, inexpensive tip sheet. We also have a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. We got a lot of people in the comments already. David Barista apparently likes National Treasure. We'll be talking about that. We have Christine Race. Hello, handicappers. Red Route 1, a favorite of Paul Halloran. Looks like a new horse on the track. Christine Race likes Red Route 1. Dean G is here. We got Dien here. Race 10 Turf Sprint. Got a lot of runners off the layoff. Tony Rollo. Thank you to the HHH boys for keeping me company on the ride home from Horseshoe. Welcome, Tony. Congratulations, by the way. Crown's Way Racing had a winner today. I think it was Judy's Way at Horseshoe. So, Tony, congratulations. Glad he's watching the show. All right, let's bring on. Oh, well, maybe not. We're about to bring him on. Almost had a little false start there. All right, he broke through the gate. We loaded him back in. Let's bring on a fantastic co-host from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, journalist from the Saratoga Special, the one and only Mr. Paul Halloran. Paul, how you doing tonight?
Good evening, Howard. How are you?
Good. You broke through the gate there for a second. We had to reload you.
As usual, a lot of balls in the air here in the
Absolutely.
North Shore.
Listen, we got the correct background up. It's Pimlico weekend, Paul. Yep, I love it.
The greatest Pimlico performance of all time, in my opinion.
And
The
that
Fleet
is
Alex.
Fleet. Oh, wow. Okay, trivia question: Who's the horse that Ramon Dominguez rode that almost brought a Fleet Alex down by accident?
Oh God!
Come on, everyone at home, who was it?
Oh, it was God! I think he had more than one word in his name.
Oh, I'm disappointed, Paul. Disappointed.
Oh boy!
Well, we only have so much time on the show. How about Scrappy T?
All right, I was right about.
There you go, Jeff
words.
Amster. Jeff Amster's got it. Scrappy T. Fleet Alex, what an unbelievable race that was. Fantastic. Listen, we got a lot to talk about, Paul. Before we, there we go. We got Michael Austin is here. Before we bring on our special guest, Paul, let's talk about something on the chat. And I brought this up on Tuesday, and it's a host fail because I really should bring it up more often. So I just want to bring up the other screen here. It's going to be weird because you're going to see us on the other screen, but that's okay. We can handle it. Let me just share the screens here. So if you look, obviously, this is not me talking. This is what you're seeing at home. But if you look on the right side of the page, everyone, I know it's a little confusing now. It's picture in picture. But if you look on the right side of the page, there is a dollar sign. If you can see where my cursor is in the bottom right, if you hit that dollar sign, you can do what's called a super sticker, which you can just donate a small amount and a sticker will come up on the screen. Or you can press that button, do something called a super chat, which you can make any donation you want. Listen, we'll take 50 cents, $1, $2, and then you just click this buy and send blue button there, and we will bring your chat up right away. It will be in color, Paul, and they can make a donation to the HHH Racing podcast. So if someone, maybe myself or Paul or Pete or someone, gave you a nice tip and you scored big, go ahead and hit that super chat. Make any donation you want. We'd greatly appreciate anything, Paul. And we'll put your chat up right away. Just a way, Paul, for people to get our attention a little better in case we're not looking at the chat.
Well, especially we're down a man here too. We're a man down, as they say in hockey.
We are, but we have a very, very good replacement who's be coming on in just a minute. For those who don't know, Pete Visco is he's fine. He's on vacation, well-deserved vacation with his wife in Mexico, I believe. Paul, is that right? And he's going to be there through Sunday. So right now he's probably at a poolside bar having a Corona or some beer of his choice, right, Paul?
And here I am talking to you. What am I doing wrong, Howard?
I don't know. Hey, look at that right away. Here we go, Paul. $3, Jeff Amster. Jeff, thank you very much. Sent a $3 super sticker. Now, Jeff, just let you know, you could have put in a chat with that. So it's not just pressing that button, although we appreciate that, Jeff, of course. But also you can type in something that you'd like to chat, and we'll bring it up right away. But Jeff Amster, thank you very much for your support. We greatly appreciate the super sticker there. Let's see. We got Robert is here. No, I'm assuming he meant mage. He had the cat. Robert's got a handicapping cat, apparently. Pretty impressive. We got Penn State Scott here, gentlemen. Let's win some money in Maryland. Paul, we're going to get into the pick five here any moment. The all stakes pick five. I don't know. I'm sure you looked. There are 3 very good graded stake races before the pick five.
I did,
Paul. And for those people that are yearly subscribers, we're not going to talk it on this show. If you're a yearly subscriber, I have a 12-minute special video for the yearly subscribers, Paul, where I will talk about the 3 stake races before the pick five. So right before Craig Wilkowski comes on, you want to give out one pick, Paul? I didn't really tell you we were going to do this, but real quick, race 6, 7, or 8. Do you have a specific horse you like in one of those 3?
Well,
races?
Yeah, I actually went through those races because I have to submit them for the Saratoga Special website. This is horseracing.com. We'll all have picks. I am going to take a shot with Super Chow in the Chick Lang.
Ooh. That's race 6.
I'm sad that the regular jockey Chantel Sutherland. I don't know if anyone caught that story, but she fell off a horse at Gulfstream that was spooked by geese, of all things, as if we don't have enough problems in this goddamn game of ours. And turns out that apparently there's a trainer who's feeding them in the morning and late afternoon. So anyway, I digress. Anyway, this horse, Howard, I don't know if he can go all the way. But this horse is very fast, the Super Chow. And you know, Howard, we watched General Jim run a damn good race a few Saturdays ago when we were in Louisville. And, you know, if you look at his form, he lost to General Jim, and then he lost to Damon's Mound and Gulfport. So I think this horse has a shot at I don't even know the odds because they're not on my sheet, but I assume he's got to be in the 5-6 to 1 range.
Yeah, I think he's 5 to 1. Sorry, I'm a little sidetracked because Craig Wilkowski needed the link again. So Craig should be on here in just a minute.
Oh,
guys.
he's 3 to 1 morning line. Oh, so much for my cleverness, Howard.
Well, I have a horse in that race. I don't want to, ruin it, but having a meltdown in the 1 is very fast. But there might be a meltdown in that race, Paul. There's a ton of early speed in that race. And let's just say I like a closer in that race. How's that? Everyone could figure out who that might be. It is not Super Chow, but that's a tough race. Let's see here. All right. Jeff Amster, by the way, Paul, donated apparently in honor of Tom Durkin, which we're going to talk to Craig Wilkowski about that because Craig got a bit of not a kerfuffle, but he was on Twitter today and got a little bit of a I guess a bit of an argument, whatever, with someone. We'll talk about it.
Oh,
all right. I like actually, speaking of the devil, or not the devil, but speaking of our wonderful guest, it looks like he's ready. Craig, if you can hear us in the bullpen, give me a little thumbs up, and we'll bring you on screen. Craig, if you can hear us, a little thumbs up, Craig. All right. Craig is all ready to go. Let's bring on. I've been waiting to have this guest on for quite a while. This is a great guy. I've not had the chance to meet him in person. This is the first time we're meeting him here on air. Does an unbelievable job for Timeform U.S. And we talk about Timeform Pace Figures all the time on this show. As you know, we're dedicated DRF users here. And so he's going to help us not only navigate through the all stakes late pick 5 ending in the Preakness, but also talk a little bit about Timeform U.S. figs. Let's bring him on right now, the one and only Mr. Craig Wilkowski. Craig, how you doing tonight?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, Craig.
Hey, nice to see you there, Paul.
Nice to see you, sir.
Craig, welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. Sorry, I thought I sent you the link earlier this week, but no worries. Send you again. We were just talking, Craig. You're active on Twitter like I am. Apparently, no one in horse racing Twitter has heard of any young announcers, apparently, and everyone's just crying out for the great Tom Durkin. Craig, are you getting yourself in trouble again on Twitter?
It's okay. It's nothing against Tom Durkin. I said he is arguably the best. That's just because people could make arguments for others. I think he was the best. He's the best I've ever heard. And I'm high school friends with Larry Comas. So
okay.
I could be biased there, but I'm not. Tom is the greatest, and it's no big deal having him back. It's fine. I'm sure it'll go well. But I do think there's a lot of good young announcers out there, so I'd like to see some of them get a chance.
There are, and you listed some, and you're exactly right about every single one of them, Matt Dimmerman, etc. We can just go Travis Stone, who I've had the pleasure of meeting a few times. He's a great guy. A lot of really good, talented people out there. Speaking of talented people, Craig, we've been on air for about 2.5 years. We've grown tremendously. We have a great following. And one thing that I know you're going to appreciate, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, is because we exclusively use DRF PPs on this show and talk about Formulator all the time. And so I've talked to Paul, my co-host there, and another co-host, Pete Visco, who's not with us tonight. I said, we got to get Craig Wilkowski on so he can explain. So, Craig, that could be a whole show, of course, on its own. But very quickly, for people that are not familiar with you, Craig, please tell everyone a little bit about how you got involved with Timeform U.S. And then we're going to give literally a 2 to 3 minute, if that's even possible, tutorial on how you create the Timeform U.S. figs.
Okay, yeah. If you want to search, you can find the whole Timeform U.S. story. But I started out, I had my own site called pacefigures.com. I was just a handicapper who loved races, loved making figures. And I wound up, I'm a retired Air Force guy. I got stationed over in the desert, working midnight shifts. Didn't have a lot to do some of the time. So I wrote a computer program that helped me make the figures, and I never had any inclination to make it a hobby or make it a business. But kind of fate intervened, and I was a big War Emblem guy in the Illinois Derby and then the Kentucky Derby as well. He won them both, and all of a sudden I had people clamoring for what I was using, and just kind of grew over the years. So I kept pacefigures.com for a long time, maybe 10 years. I really don't remember anymore. And finally I got approached by Mark Attenberg and said, hey, I'm starting this new competitor to DRF at the time. We've been bought by them since, obviously. But he said, how about giving it a shot? And I jumped on board and haven't looked back.
Well, listen, you've done a great job. You're going to see some comments on the bottom of the screen. We have a live chat going, Craig. We have tremendous viewers. Michael Austin would like to say hello to you, Craig. Tom Espinoza, a great fan from San Francisco. Craig, great to see you on the HHH Racing Podcast. Jeff Amster, Craig, may Pimlico accurately time the Preakness so you can have a peaceful Sunday. Wait, Paul, there are timing issues in this sport? I never heard of that.
Yeah. Let's hope, Craig, they did not send up the clock from Gulfstream, Craig.
Oh, no. Pimlico, not too many problems there. I think they're I know most of them. If not, I have them written down. I think they're using GPS, but it's with the portable beams, as all of them are now. So for the most part, it works pretty good, just like the beam systems.
And Jim Pilares, he's from Buffalo. Craig said that the Timeform project is the most accurate speed figures in the industry, in my opinion. Love the product. Big fan of Craig's work with David Aragona. So, great job. David Aragona, we've had on the show. Best mowing line maker in the country by far. He does a great job. Craig, what I'm going to do before we jump into the pick 5 here in a minute is I'm going to bring up race 9, but I'm going to bring up the Timeform figs and just very briefly explain to people what they see. I'll show one horse's PPs. You can very quickly, and then tell people where they could go for more details. Well, I'm going to bring it up full screen here. So this is race 9 that we're about to talk about. And Craig, explain to people what they see initially, especially the top right-hand side of the screen here.
Yeah, the top right side is what we call the Timeform U.S. pace projector. We take how the horses have run in previous races and try to figure out where they're going to be early. When we say early for sprints, we mean after a quarter mile. For routes, we mean after a half mile. And then we tell you if we think the pace is going to be fast or slow, or if there's no flag, like in this one, we see a fast pace. So we obviously think it's going to be hot up front. If it was blue, that would mean there's not much speed and we expect front runners to have an advantage. And sometimes most races, there's just nothing telling you that, it's just kind of an average pace and we don't expect it to be a big factor.
And then tell everyone I'm actually making a little bit smaller. Let's talk about Oksana just a little bit, the one horse, and explain to people the different colors and things they see here on the PPs using Timeform U.S.
Sure. I mean, you see running lines just like everybody else. We kind of use 2 lines because we put the pace figures underneath. I'll be honest with you. We've recently shifted to DRF. I still use the Timeform U.S. website, but I'm going to have to adapt because it's all moving to DRF
Right.
pretty soon. There's still some features not there. It's not that I don't love the view because I think it's a better look in DRF, but there's still a couple things not there. So I'm not using it. One of the things I carried over from my pacefigures.com and what people really liked was the color coding. You can see the 106 pace figure for Oksana there at the half mile in her last race at Laurel. And that tells you that the pace was fast. Looking at this, I'm assuming that these are the figures for the horse. In Timeform U.S., we can put it on either the race or the horse. But those figures are always for the race. We don't do it for individual horses. So we're saying at the half mile, they were probably going too fast for that final time figure that they wound up running.
So this 104 is the Timeform fig that the one got in the race. And explain to people, we've talked about this. Let's go bring this on the screen a little bit. Craig, we've talked about this on the show quite a bit because we like studying the Euros and we try to teach people on the show. We have a lot of great experienced handicappers, Craig. We also have inexperienced and newer players to the game. And especially with the Euros, of course, Timeform really comes into play. Explain to people who are used to a buyer figure how that relates to the Timeform number, please.
We just use a different scale. They're basically the same. One thing I did want to mention, that 104, you'll see the 103 under, she finished second, beaten half a length. She actually got a slight pace upgrade. That's what the 104 is. If you're looking for a direct comparison to a buyer speed figure, it would be the one under the finish position, that 103. That's a final time number. Some people don't like to use the pace adjustments, and that's fine. The final time figure is always there. All our data has shown, though, that the pace adjustments give you more winners, definitely give you a better ROI. The winners is pretty close. The scale itself, it's just basically a little bit higher. Back when I was always a DRF user. When Timeforms first started appearing in the DRF, there was a pretty standard adjustment of, I want to say it was 12 or 13 points. You could deduct from the Timeform figure, and that would give you a pretty good estimate of the buyer speed figure. That's grown over time for whatever reason. We try to keep our figures on the same scale as Timeform, the UK version, even though we make them totally differently. We use speed just like buyer figures. They do something totally different. That could be a whole different show. I know some of it. I don't know all of it. But the difference nowadays, anyway, has grown from that 12 or 13 or whatever it was up to about 20 points. Okay. And that would apply if you wanted to compare us to buyer. On average, that's going to work. It's not going to work for every race. I mean, we don't always make our speed figures exactly the same, obviously. And but yeah, that 20 is a pretty good adjustment. And it works too for the horses that ship over. If you see a Timeform rating of 120 in the UK, we like in Timeform U.S. that we can make that direct comparison. With the buyer figures, you probably would still need to take away 20 if you wanted to have a good, a rough gauge. It's not perfect by any means.
Yeah, I've heard maybe down to 15 at the very least, but obviously I don't, it's somewhere between, it's not exact science, right? There's many different speed figures out there. Use whatever you'd like. Glenn Parker on the bottom of the screen. Craig sent me a Delta Jackpot pace figure from Belgium. Wow, in the mid-2000s. He should be czar of accurate thoroughbred timing. Wow, knowledgeable, approachable, innovative, subject matter expert. Craig, I promise we did not pay these people to make these comments. We just have a lot of excited people here to have you.
I can, in full disclosure, Glenn was a longtime customer of mine at pacefigures.com.
Okay.
And I did get that going when I was stationed over in Belgium. So I kept it going, I should say. That's part of why I went to DRF, because I was basically a one-man operation, webmaster, programmer, you name it. I did it, customer service. So it's been a much better ride for me at DRF.
Well, it's so important to have correct timing. So let's jump into the pick 5, Craig. We got a lot to talk about here. Again, this is going to start in race 9, everyone. You're going to see banners, Craig, at the bottom of the screen, scrolling banners with our picks, and you're always going to go first as our guest here. And then Paul and I will piggyback off of your comments. So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and bring up we bring up the Equibase just to show the field, and then we go to DRF for the actual PPs. So race 9, this is the start of the late pick 5 on Saturday, Preakness Day, all stakes late pick 5. It starts with the Skipat Stakes. It's about 3:31 Eastern Standard Time. It's for filly and mares, 100K in the kitty, 6 furlongs. These are older fillies and mares. You got a nice big field here of 10, and the morning line favorite is the number 2, Begin, for Allard and Castellano. Now, this horse was entered last week, and they scratched for this spot. She was entered, in the vagrancy, scratched for this spot. Let's go to Craig first. Craig is going to go with the morning line favorite, Begin. Craig, what do you like about this filly?
Well, one caveat, she is entered at Belmont on Sunday as well. So
okay.
It looks like an easier spot at Belmont, so it's no guarantee that she's going to run here. This race for me, if we could look at the pace projector, I don't know if you have that available.
Of course we do.
It is a race that is ripe for a meltdown, in my opinion. There are so many horses in here that just have high early speed, and not just high early speed. A couple of them are just need the lead types that they either get it or they pack it in. And there's just a whole lot of that in there. So I look for horses who are more off the pace types. I think Boozin is probably the best of them. He's not a deep, or she's not a deep closer, but she has the best speed figures. I guess the one question mark will be that she hasn't won a lot of races, but I think this is actually a little bit of a drop in class for her, not just from her last race, even from the allowance races, some of them that she's been running in. So I think she's got a big shot if she shows up in here. If not, then I would lean to a horse who is more of a closer. That would be Gunning, the 6 horse, who I believe my podcast partner, David Aragona, said is a half to mage. I didn't look that up. Yes,
that is correct. We'll show it.
So that would be
right
something
now.
if
there's
she
Puka.
was able to win.
There's Puka right there for you, Craig.
Yep.
Damn.
That's the one. So, I mean, she's very logical as well. If I was playing this race vertically, I would probably use them in an exacta box because it just feels like a race that's going to fall apart to me.
I agree. Paul, you're going with Boozin also. I was just looking at the numbers for Allard. Not great off the layoff. She's really more of a one number type, Paul. That's why I have her second. I mean, I guess she runs her best race. She wins this relatively easily, but the layoff and it's sort of a tough field with a lot of speed. I just couldn't put her on top, Paul, but you do have her on top.
Well, I can't resist the Suffolk Downs connections of Charles Matsis and Ned Allard, by the way. Ned Allard.
Sorry, Allard, excuse me.
And I actually was pleased when I saw the pace projector because I kind of, without having looked at it earlier, thinking like Craig was thinking, and to see where they have the two, I think a really good trip can be had by this horse. And I do agree with Craig. And I think 8 out of the 10 have a triple-digit early pace figure, which I think that's a standard. And Howard, and Craig doesn't need a commercial from us, but let me just say this, and I have used TimeForm, but now that you can click off a formulator and for $1, you can get all this information. If you're not doing it, you're insane. You know, I could justify it if you had to go back and forth because if you're lazy like me, but it's a game of information, and the fact that you can go from formulator to the pace projector with one click for $1. So everyone get TimeForm now that that's out of the way. I really do. I think this too can close in this spot, and I hope they keep her in this spot. I kind of like her a lot here.
You have the 3, I'm the boss of me, who is one of those speed types, got a nice 87 last time, but with IRAD. So, you know, this horse is going to take money, but, you know, she's facing a lot of speed in here, and she's going to have to, you know, replicate that last effort to have a chance here, Paul.
Yeah. Yes. And it's going to be interesting to see who goes. I think Craig's has the 5. I thought the 5 could hang around. You know, it's just going to depend on who gets the lead and, you know, what type of quarter they put up and how contested it is. So the 3 very likely, you know, he could, if he doesn't, here we go. Drink.
Hold on. I gotta put us on screen. Craig doesn't know. Now, Craig accidentally said he, but corrected right away. So, Craig, we have a game here. We gave you a break for the first one because you auto-corrected right away. But in the future, if you have a beverage nearby, does not have to be an alcoholic beverage, Craig. But if you have one, if anyone misgenders a horse, you must have a beverage. So, Paul, that was definitely a mistake on your part. I will have some water.
And I do it about 3 times a night, Craig. So
now I've watched their guys show before.
Yeah. So anyway,
appreciate it, Craig.
I have the 2 as an A, and I did actually, even though I had the 3 second in my top 3, and you'll see in my power picks for those who are wise enough to get them on Saturday. I have the 6 as an A. I'm with Craig there as well.
Yeah, guys, this is, you know, Craig, this is a perfect horse to have you on for this show. This horse is slower by any measure. Definitely a few points slower, but you know what? She's the only solid closer in this race with a ton of early speed. Craig, I love this kind of angle. I think we are going to get 6-1 because she is a little bit slower on the figs. I hope Pratt just takes back, makes one giant run. I do need the pace to collapse, no question about it. I was going to say she likes it wet, but it looks like it's going to be okay. On Saturday at the weather. There's a very small chance of rain, but she's run well on dry. This is the kind of horse, Craig, that I would use as a reverse key underneath for sure. So I know obviously you know what that means, Craig, but people that don't know, or back wheel. So you put this horse in first, second, and third in your trifectas, or first and second in your exactas. Craig, I think this horse has a fantastic chance to hit the board and maybe upset the field. Any final thoughts, Craig, before we move on?
No, the one thing I think you brought up is when you bet horses like Gunning, who are going to be back, you better get a price because closers take the worst of it. This is one of the rare situations that I'm almost positive that it's going to get too fast up front. Nothing against closers. They pay more because people do avoid them. But the one thing I do avoid is when they're a short price. But I don't think Gunning's going to be that.
No, I don't. Even with Flavian, there's a ton of really good jockeys. And I don't know if anyone watched the races today. It looked like the outside on the dirt was pretty well. I've heard that the track's a little deeper than it has been because sometimes it can be inside speed favoring at Pimlico on these big days. Who knows what it's going to be on Saturday? But people need to pay attention to the track because there's absolutely bias at Pimlico at times. All right, guys, let's move on to race 10. Again, our picks are on the bottom of the screen. You want to talk about speed? I mean, whoa. This turf sprint, and there are a whole bunch of 5 furlong turf sprints this weekend. Race 10 is the Jim McKay turf sprint. It's $100,000, 5 furlongs for older males. It's a big, or 3 old and up. It's a big field of 13. The Moorline favorite is the number 3, Artemis City Limits, Ontario bred, Michael Maker, Irad. Craig, you're going to go with a horse, number 5, Smokin' Jay. That we're a big fan of Smokin' Jay on this show for one main reason, and that is one of the hosts of Bettin and Boozin. His name's Kyle Roscoe. Young man has a very small fractional ownership of Smokin' Jay, and also Crownsway Racing, who is partial owner of Smokin' Jay, is a sponsor, Craig, of this show. Now, I just want to let everyone know, and I sent out a text and I've not heard back. Smokin' Jay was cross-entered. Actually, I'm looking at text right now. He was cross-entered in a race at Churchill because, believe it or not, Craig, that purse is 120, and it's actually more than Pimlico.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, they were worried a little bit about the rain. Let's see here. Jay did not ship and will run at Churchill Memorial Day weekend for a bigger purse. Craig, do you want to change your pick?
No, I'll just slide down to my next pick, the 10 horse in there. And it's kind of similar to the last one, even though it's a 5 furlong race. There is just so much speed in here. Nothing better on the inside is high speed. He's going to have to go. Artemis City Limits is in the 3 post. And he's also a horse. I kind of have a rule where I really liked him last time. I thought he was going to run well, and he didn't. So when that happens, and I don't think you really have much of an excuse, I just cut bait and move on from him. So I'm not interested in him here. And that's kind of why I was leaning Smokin' Jay. I won't spend too much time on him, but I think he might have regressed second off the long layoff. Was looking for him to bounce back. But since he's not in there, I'm going to go with the hot horse, Coppola, who I was really impressed with his race at Churchill. He ran a huge speed figure right there with the favorites, a 118. He has tactical speed, but he doesn't have to be on the front, which is a good thing from the 10 post, particularly at Pimlico. And I just think this race is going to set up really nice for him.
You know, I'm going to let Paul talk. I don't have the 10 anywhere, Craig. Now, he ran a huge buyer 100, big buyer top. That's not why I'm against him. This is a very quick turnaround, and the 10 hole is difficult. Now, I do have the 13 in there, so if you're going to say, Howard, what are you talking about? The 13 is outside of the 10, and I am a math teacher, so I do know that. I'm just worried about the quick turnaround, and maybe it's just a one-number horse. But, Paul, you're interested in the 10 also. You've got him second. Dale Roman's not worried about a quick turnaround.
No, Dale's not afraid to run, which is one thing we like about Dale. I'm going to see, I'm looking at the 3 a little differently. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt off the layoff. I think Caravel is just about as good a turf sprinter as there is out there right now, male or female, running with the likes of Carolel, Emirati Inn, and Golden Pal. So I think the 3 has a decent shot here. But I do, to Craig's point, I do have the 10 as an A, and it looks like the 10 could sit a very good trip from there with a lot of speed inside of him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. This Craig, do you find sometimes with this Keeneland turf, it's sand based, some horses run on it, some don't. I see horses, their numbers really fluctuate off that Keeneland turf course. So I agree with Paul. I'm going to give him, an excuse there. Do you have any opinion on the Keeneland's turf and how it plays to other turf courses?
Yeah, it can play a little different. I do think turf courses are different. So just like dirt courses, Gulfstream, I don't pay a lot of attention to Gulfstream chippers, for example, particularly at Keeneland, because it's just so different. I like to bet against the horses that run well at Gulfstream. I think that's just a good principle in general to kind of know horses. Some horses like other some turf courses better than others.
Yeah, I got nothing better in second, who broke a track record at Aqueduct. By the way, a few people are saying the screen might be a little blurry. The screen's fine on our end, ladies and gentlemen. It's just when I put us on the screen, the number's obviously a little smaller. But let's go full screen. Nothing was better than him last time, and he took pace pressure. So Karamaj is just going to go, guys. Obviously, he's just a dead cent, and if he breaks well, he's going to be tough to catch. I know there's a lot of speed in here, but that's a relatively quick run into that first turn. So it's not easy. But to me, the sort of interesting horse to me is Beer Can Man. Now, guys, this is a brutal post. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. But I'm hoping second off the layoff. I love D'Amato. Craig, I've got a ton of respect for Phil D'Amato. I think he's one of the best, sharpest guys out there. If Pratt can somehow find a way to get over and tuck in, which I think is possible, probably unlikely, but possible. He's got back numbers. I don't think D'Amato would go on with Beer Can Man if he thought maybe he was done. He clearly needed that last race. And Paul, front run the Fed, who we both scored on that day for Raylu, came from out of the clouds. That pace collapsed, and Beer Can Man was sort of inside in a weird spot. I think he can run a big race here if he can find a way to not be 5-6 wide on the turn.
Yeah, I have him as a B if he draws in, and I have in my notes written on my PPs here, race fell apart. As we predicted, by the way, that was a race that looked like it was going to fall apart. As you say, though, he's going to need at least one scratch to draw in. And it'd be good if he could get a few more to get a little.
Well, we've got one scratch already.
That's right. So he's in. He's
in.
So he is in. So
yeah.
So he's only in the 12. So yeah, right. I think no. I like I say, before I knew of the scratch, I had him as a B if he drew in. Any
quick thoughts on Beer Can Man, Craig, and then we'll move on.
He's certainly got a chance. The post is a problem. I like outside post in dirt sprints. It's a little bit tougher on the turf. I don't know if I mentioned it. I grew up in Baltimore. I cut my racing teeth at Pimlico and Charlestown. So I know all about the Pimlico surface and the biases and all that stuff. So it's still probably my favorite track despite the condition it's in. But yeah, you got to work out a trip from that outside. It's not the advantage that it is on dirt for sure. That said, I picked the 10 horse, so he'll at least be the 9 now.
Yeah, I'm using Coppola. I want to see it again. That's all. I have total respect for the horse and the connections. I just want to see it again. Let's go on to the next race, guys. Now, this race, to me, I've heard, listen, the benefit of having the show on Thursday night, Craig, is you got a lot of talking heads out there that have already, and some smart people that I respect, and everyone's got different opinions on, on who they like. I've heard many opinions about this particular race, and I have a fairly strong opinion that I'm going to bring up right now. And my strong opinion is I think it's wide open. I don't believe there's a ton of speed again. Who knows, Craig? We've seen this a million times, right? Look at all the speed, and then all the jocks read it, Craig, and what happens? You got a wire job, and we all throw our hands in the air like, what the hell just happened? Let's go to the next race, though. This sprint, Maryland Sprint Stakes, presented by Big Ass Fans, grade 3, 6 furlongs, $100,000. There's a lot of speed in this race. It's a 10-horse field. The Moorline favorite is the number 7, Nakatomi, for Wesley Ward and Tyler G. I picked him last time, Craig. He disappointed, but maybe this race sets up better for him because that's who you're going with.
I'm not going with Nakatomi if I say.
Oh, you're on the 9. I'm sorry. My bad. I misread it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
You're
do
going
have him second.
You're going with the closer. My bad. I thought this horse was a bit interesting. I'm sorry. You're going with the 9 who's turning back in distance. My fault.
No, you're fine. I mean, I haven't picked second. It's not like I don't think he's going to run well. I know he's going to be overbet because he's always overbet. And I can never figure out why he's overbet, to be honest. But this is a race where the fastest horse on Timeform U.S, and it's pretty clear, is a 10, Wonder Where Craig Is, a horse I like, obviously, because of my name.
Yep.
But
they're the figs, by the way.
Yeah. As a figure guy, I'm not a big bounce guy. I don't think horses necessarily bounce because they run fast. The one time I do is when they run fast off a long layoff and it's in a tough race. And Wonder Where Craig Is, it fits all of the things I don't like and don't expect him to come back with a strong effort here. He's going to be a pretty short price. I do think will cause some problems for the other speed, like Straight No Chaser, who's I think the second choice on the morning line. So I was looking for somebody a little more interesting. Like you said, I think it's a pretty wide open race, and I never want to take short prices in there. If I'm playing pick fives, I would use Nakatomi. I just wouldn't bet him to win. I would use Straight No Chaser. I probably wouldn't use Wonder Where Craig Is because I just don't like him in this spot.
Wow, not going with the namesake. Wow, Craig.
Yeah.
Craig,
He burned me at Charlestown last year when I flew in for the Charlestown Classic.
Oh, wow.
He ran a dud, so I hold grudges.
Can you talk?
No, he's a horse I like and I follow.
So there's 2 red figs. It's just we've talked about red and blue figs on the show, and then there's a pretty big pace adjustment from 115 to 123. Just very briefly, Craig, talk about that one more time, especially for our less experienced handicappers.
Yeah, this was just a very taxing race, and the algorithm's a little more complicated, but we come up with that 123 based on that. A lot of those early pace figures, that 136 and 131, merged with the final time figure. But it also depends where the horse is. If Wonder Where Craig Is was sitting last in a race with a supersonic pace like the Kentucky Derby and had run those pace figures, he wouldn't get any kind of boost because he's actually getting a good trip. And we also don't give a lot of extra credit to horses who are in a clear lead. We kind of limit how much we give to them. But this horse was dueling all the way around the track. That's why he got the 8-point bump. We'll have bigger bumps on occasion, but that's one of the larger ones you'll see. And it's a big part of why I don't like him in here. It's just a very, very taxing race.
I've heard people say single Straight No Chaser. He's West Coast speed. He faced Taba. I mean, the last race is one of the reasons I don't like him. And this is exactly what you're talking about, Craig. Straight No Chaser, sure, he got a 101, but it was a slow pace race at Oaklawn in an optional allowance. And this is a much better field with much better speed. And he's going to be, 3 to 1, 7 to 2. No bueno for me. I'm using him defensively. Just talk a little more about the 9 because that's your top choice. Hello, Hot Rod turning back. Brittany Russell, Craig, on fire right now for Julian Toledo is a very underrated local jockey.
Yeah, and then you also get the other Brittany Russell because she's the Wonder Where Craig Is trainer as well. I just like this horse. I've always thought this horse was going to be better sprinting. I actually saw him run here at Remington Park a few times, a local track here in Oklahoma City where I am. And he's just a good, solid horse. He always shows up, runs his race. But I really think he's going to get a good trip with the amount of speed signed in. You see a lot of 1s in his PPs, but they're all in longer races. If you scroll down in some of his sprints, I expect them to be mid-pack. And I just think he's going to get a good trip and be a price. And I would definitely use him in my pick 5s.
Yeah, I'm using him underneath as well. Paul, I had Nakatoni last time. I thought he was awful. I didn't find any excuses for him, but he's run big races before. Maybe he's just better with a quicker pace going 6, but I would not touch him on the win end at all at 5 to 2. But that being said, I am using him as an A because I think he's very logical.
Well, I think you holding a grudge against him is very mean just because you lost money off him last time.
I'm a bitter man, Paul, bitter man.
I think a closer is winning this race. I think that Wonder Where Craig Is. I do like Craig. I like the outside, but this horse always gets to the front, usually breaks second, third, fourth. There are other horses in here who may be out of the gate better. I think the 10 is going to have to work hard to get to the front. I think the 8 does have speed. I think the 4, I think Xavier Perez is going to send the 4 as fast as he can send him, the local horse. So I again, as to Craig's point, maybe not a good idea taking a shorter price on a closer, but I do think this race is going to be won from behind, and I think Nakatomi is going to make you pay for holding that grudge, Howard.
No, I've got Nakatomi. I've got Straight No Chaser. I've got them as A's. Guys, I'm going with a weirdo here, and I have to admit, Craig, that I'm very stubborn with this horse because he's run some big numbers before. I've also bet him, and he's been awful. I have no idea. Full disclosure, no idea what to expect with Prevalence, Craig. But there's a few things I like. I like the switch to IRAD. Nothing wrong with Tyler G. I just like the switch. He's got blinkers on. He's working well. Maybe he just needs to get away from Gulfstream and needs a fresh new track to run on. These are kind of very amateurish opinions. I wish I could give you better reasons. This is more of a gut feel, but the blinkers on and Brendan Walsh putting IRAD with 2 bullet works in a race that's completely wide open. Craig, this horse has talent and he's run big numbers, and you're going to get a decent number even with IRAD on Saturday. So I'm going with the flyer here. Craig, any thoughts on Prevalence?
Yeah, I actually did a preview with David for this race today, and I made a case that Prevalence might run better than he looks. I mean, I actually like this race in the Hooper. It was against tough competition. Endorsed was in razor sharp form. You can put a line through the turf race, so that kind of darkens his form a little more. And even if you didn't want to give him an excuse, look who won that race up to the mark and what he's done since then. Yeah. He's probably one of the best turf horses in the country right now. So he's definitely a horse I would use as a price. I don't remember where I put him in my picks at DRF. He was probably 3rd or 4th, but he's one I would want to use because I think he's definitely better than those last two races. Look, I mean, this was a horse in the Wood Memorial when he was a 3-year-old, went off 3-1. So there's some talent there.
No, I don't know. I have a feeling, and maybe the turnback's going to help him. Jocko Man's got a question. I have to bring this up, Craig, and then we're going to the next race because no disrespect to Jocko Man, I am sick of seeing this question. People need to learn about this, Craig, at the bottom of the screen. Can we just very briefly, and Jocko Man, no disrespect, it's such a misnomer, Craig.
No, they are not sharper at Pimlico than anywhere else. I have no idea where that originated from. Even I heard it all the time growing up in in Baltimore. One of the first times I went to the track, I remember playing a pick 6 with all 1s in it because that's all everybody talked about, the tight turns, and the rail was always gold. And the truth was the rail wasn't always gold and the turns aren't any tighter. It's been measured. You can go measure those things on Google now if you want, Google Earth. Yes. I've had to do that for some other issues in horse racing, not necessarily how tight turns are, but the info's out there. I think it came back there even a little bit wider than Churchill, if I'm not mistaken, despite being a smaller track. What it is, I think maybe the banking's not quite as much, so it maybe looks like horses have trouble coming out of the turn a little more.
Okay. Let's go on to race 12. We got one more race, then we got to talk about the Preakness here. So let's move on. The James W. Murphy. This is race 12. It's for restricted 3-year-olds. They're on the turf. They're going 1 mile. It's $100,000 is the purse. Another big field of 9. You got a big morning line favorite on the outside in Nagarok for Graham Motion and Flavian Pratt. Craig, you're going with a very interesting P8 bred who's got a lot of speed and the inside. I'm assuming this is where we need the Timeform U.S. figs. You've got a Western Yarn at 10-1 for Delacour and Centeno.
Yeah, he's coming out of the fastest race I've rated all year on the turf. And I mean, I'm not the only one that had it fast. Talk of the Nation he was going to be one of the favorites on Derby week. He was scratched. I still haven't heard the reason what happened. I assume he was a late vet scratch at the gate, but it's a race which has come back strong. The figure has held up. Mo Stash went on the to win at Keeneland, as we see.
Yeah.
He beat the horse who's the morning line favorite in here. And anytime I get a horse who's my best figure at a big price, I'm going to take it. And, you may question, he ran that 113 and it was kind of a jump up. You can even see the same thing on Beyer. He jumped up 12 points there. But I don't worry about that too much with 3-year-olds. I mean, you expect that it's going to happen if a horse is talented. Somewhere along the line, they're going to make a big jump, and they'll usually maintain it for a while.
Do you expect him to sit off of the number one, or do you think Centeno is just going to gun him the lead and try to go wire to wire? Because Fantastic, again, is pretty quick on the inside, but Johnny V's not really a send guy, Craig. So this can be very interesting between these two.
It is, and we don't know if he's going to handle turf. He didn't handle it very well his first time out, but I do like that he's drawn outside of him. If Fantastic, again, breaks well, handles the turf, and goes to the lead, he can just sit off of him. If he doesn't, he can take the lead. I don't think it matters one way or the other.
But you've got another speed horse with who looks like he has no shot unless he takes the turf in top. Does Maker have a second one in here? I forgot to look. I'm assuming he does. Maybe not. No, he doesn't. I thought maybe he was.
Horse.
Oh, the 2. I'm sorry, he does. Well, the 2 looks like a no-hoper. I was thinking maybe he was going to send the 4 to set it up for someone else, Craig, but it doesn't look that way. This pace looks like it could be fast again, but you think your top pick can maybe sit off if necessary?
Yeah, I think he can. I don't worry too much about horses like the 4 on turf. If they run off and open up a lead, I don't think the rider on a Western Yarn, I think it's Daniel Centeno, has to chase him. Even though he's won his races on the front end, he's done it setting nice, even, moderate paces. Those kind of horses can generally sit off.
I think the 3 is interesting. I think there's a little too much speed for me, but he's a talented horse, and I like the fact that he jumped up in a very tough race at Tampa. Paul, you're going with the favorite Nagarok, who I'm going to watch the replay. He sat off, got a very good trip, couldn't go by Mo Stash, who Craig's top pick ran against. So there's a lot of Mo Stash sort of transitive property going on here. Do you think Nagarok, with blinks on, is just too classy for these, Paul?
Yeah, classy, and I think he gets a good trip from out there. And that race did come back very good. Web Slinger, for those of us who got knocked out of the pick 5 by Web Slinger, Web Slinger came back and ran a monster last week. Now you could say that the horse finds a way not to win. Third, and second, the last 3. But again, Mostache came back off of this race and ran well. And the race itself, I think the race itself came back pretty strong. But, Mostache led that race with Web Slinger to the top of the stretch. And then, got passed by 3 horses. But actually, frankly, Howard, I think this is, if I had to pick a horse to win on Saturday, this would be the horse.
He's very logical. It's also his first off the layup, so maybe he needed one also, Paul. He's very logical. Guys, I think there's just enough speed, and this is sort of a wide open race. I want to go with a little bit of a fuzzy here. I like Circling the Drain. I like this horse quite a bit. Brittany Russell, we've talked about how good she is. Toledo is a solid jock. We've talked about, and Paul, I'm going to bring you on screen. We talk about this Derby fever kind of thing. They were in the private terms, the Tessio. I don't see any reason why this horse, it won't be better on turf, even though he has not been on turf before. Take a look at the breeding. The Grand Dam is Cozine. Who's Cozy was a very nice turf runner. This runner's thrown a bunch of good siblings. Daddy's Cozy was a turf horse. Comfy and Cozy, okay, not very good, but turf. Campaign Vows. There's a lot of turf horses that have run. There's no superstars that have in the family, but I think there's enough speed in this race, guys. I'm getting a price. I'm getting a fuzzy. We don't know how he's going to be on turf, and I'm looking for someone that's going to close, and I think this is a really good closer. So I respect Nagarok. Craig, definitely, if the 3 gets the trip, he's dangerous, but in a wide open field, to me, I just don't believe Nagarok should be 8-5, Craig. I'm going to go price shopping. I land on this one.
Yeah, that's the only knock I had on Nagarok is his price. I mean, he is the most likely winner for sure. No knocks. Mustache had everything his way that day when he was able to beat Nagarok. So he does draw outside again, but maybe with the pace, they'll spread out a little bit more than they did that day. Your horse, it's one of the weaker parts of my game, the breeding aspect. I'm still trying to get better at it, even after being in this sport for 40 years. But I know at TimeformUS, David Aragona and a couple other guys are working on some new breeding ratings. So I'm going to lean on them. That's one of the things I like to do is pick David's brain when it comes to this stuff. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. But yeah, definitely a weakness. And I would never try to talk you off a horse trying turf for the first time. That's going to be a price.
Yeah, I mean, at least underneath. Again, something to fill out your exactas and tries and really boost up the price. I'm just looking for some prices. All right, guys, it is about this time. We got about 10 minutes here to talk about the 148th Preakness. And Craig, we can go on and on about field size and should we change the triple. I'm so sick of that crap, Craig. No disrespect to anyone out there. Let's just move on. It's not the biggest field. It's not the highest quality Preakness we've seen. It's the damn Preakness. It's the second leg. And we do have the Derby winner here, Craig, which I think is very exciting. Mage. But he has some competition in this race for sure. Let's go ahead and first bring up our picks for the 148th Preakness. You see it on the bottom of the screen. And wow, we've been all over the place, the three of us on the show. Not this time. I liked First Mission before. I like him even more, but boy, he's carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders, Craig. First Mission, let's go ahead and bring up the field right there. It's a field of 8, like I said. Mage is 8-5. We are all going First Mission over Mage. Craig, take it away. I'll show the pace projector here to start.
Yeah, I mean, Mage is the best horse. He was the best horse even before the Derby. If he had skipped the Derby and showed up here, I would still say he was probably the best horse in the field. He did nothing wrong. It's just a value thing. He's 8-5 on the morning line. He's likely going to be 3-5, 4-5 tops, I would say. There's not a whole lot of pace in here on that pace projector. We showed there's 3 horses up pretty close, but there's no fast pace flag. And if you look at the PPs of those horses, National Treasure and Coffee with Chris and First Mission, they don't have to have the lead. They're all more kind of tracking type horses. So I think it's going to be a good tactical race. If I had to say, I've seen a lot of talk about National Treasure and people assume he's just going to gun to the lead and get it. I'm not really sold on that. I'm not sure what makes that horse so fast that everybody just assumes he can outrun a horse like Coffee with Chris, who has real sprinter speed. I mean, you can see in his PPs in short races, a lot of red fractions. And I apologize, Howard, I'm making you jump all over the place here.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
But yeah, you see all those red fractions in 1-turn races. The last time when he tried 2 turns, he went to the lead and set an even faster pace. You see that early 138 before getting tired late. So I suspect he's going to the front if I had to pick one horse. But I don't think it's going to be all that quick. I really don't. So I don't think the break's going to hurt Mage. But what might hurt him is that First Mission's probably going to be in front of him in a race that has a pretty tepid pace. I think he has some very real talent. We saw him win the Lexington. Disarm came out of that race, ran well. Arabian Lions running earlier on the Pimlico card. I assume he's probably going to romp in that race. If you look at the PPs, I imagine he'll be 1-5. So I don't know how much we'll really learn from that, but First Mission's been pointed here all along. What I'm hoping is that National Treasure actually picks up some steam. I've just seen so much chatter about him. I almost have a feeling he's going to be the second choice or at least co-second choice. And maybe First Mission will drift up a little to 3-1. And if he does, I think he could offer some value where Mage and National Treasure aren't going to.
Paul, you and I remember this race very well. We were there in person, and I just love how First Mission turned away Arabian Line. And to me, Paul, it looked like First Mission was just getting going. I mean, you could say you're concerned about the distance. First Mission has never gone beyond 1 mile and 16th. And Michael Austin in the chat, by the way, quote unquote, hates First Mission, which Okay, I don't quite get that, but
Howard, speaking of the chat, we have Christine and a few others who are saying this horse is scratched, and I have no idea where it's coming from. But
who, First Mission?
well, this is she put it, and then you didn't pay attention to it, so she paid $5 for you to pay attention to it.
I saw. I haven't heard anything. I don't. So if he has, that'd be shocking to me because usually someone would be texting me immediately. So
I've heard the rumors. I didn't want to bring it up since they were just rumors.
Well, if it's on Twitter, Craig, it must be true.
Yeah. So, but who knows, right? We heard the same thing about Forte, and eventually it did turn out to be right. But when those rumors popped up, it wasn't right. So who knows? If he's good enough to go in the gate, he would still be my pick. I wouldn't change it because of rumors. And then if he gets scratched, he's scratched. What can you do? You move on and pick another horse.
I mean that would partially.
I'm just curious as to where it's coming from.
I unless it's coming from a reliable source, I don't believe any of that crap. I'm sorry. People are saying listen. Let's just talk if he's in the race, guys. We got to move along. I think he was just getting going, Paul, and I think distance will not be a problem. And let me go full screen. Craig and Paul, this game is about taking chances and taking risks and being aggressive as a bettor. And I've made plenty of betting mistakes in my career. I've had some great scores. I've had some awful opinions. Just like poker, guys, I am all in on First Mission if he runs. I think he's going to sit right off of National Treasure, Craig. And I think National Treasure is getting the lead, by the way. And the reason why, Craig, Baffert and blinkers. I know Coffee with Chris is fast, but I've heard the connections say, or what I've understand is they don't think he has to have the lead, although they should just send. But Johnny V is going, Craig. I'd be shocked if Johnny V doesn't go hard. And First Mission is just going to set a perfect trip. I love his upside. I love the 5 weeks. And sure, Mage can obviously win the race, but based on the price and the fact that, in my opinion, Craig and Paul, First Mission has one horse to beat, basically, and that's Mage, as I'm not a National Treasure guy at all. This is one of my plays of the year, and I have to go all in. And if I'm wrong, Paul, I'm just wrong. But I love First Mission here. Love him.
I like him too. And I think Craig summarized it very well. Mage is just getting better. Ran a very good race. Korea figure, 2 weeks rest, still lightly raced. Look, you look at the pace projector and the 8 sits the trip that, we think he's going to sit. And I just think that Mage doesn't get to him. And, I'm with you. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But, and I do think the 4 is going out. I get it. Baffert, blinkers. I just think, how is the 4 going to be ridden any other way than just a dead set? Are they going to rate Coffee with Chris and win the Preakness? I mean, he's just going to be sent. And good, let him go. Let him. I'm not. If National Treasure wins, I'm not going to cash. So I have no issue with that. I said it the other night. I said I thought the 4 would go the lead. I don't think National Treasure is all that good. I didn't change my mind in the last 48 hours. I still don't think he's that good. And I think, where Mage was the horse improving and coming off 3 career races to win the Derby, First Mission's going to be the horse to come off 3 career races to win the Preakness.
I just think it's a tough ask, Craig, for Mage. I mean, I know horses can win off the Derby, but he's lightly raced. It's not like he was a big figure horse before the Derby, and now all of a sudden, because he wins the Derby with a great effort, now he's going to run back again. I mean, I think it's going to take a 102, 103 buyer to win this race, Craig. And if Mage wins this race, I'll be super impressed. And people can say, Craig, well, Howard's a bad field. I don't care. If he wins this race and beats First Mission and runs, repeats that buyer or close to it, I will throw up my hands in the air and say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah, in this game, we're gamblers, right? That's what we're talking about. I'm not looking to bet a 3 to 5 unless he just absolutely lays over the field. And I don't really see that here. First Mission's in there. I'm with you guys on National Treasure. Even if he makes the lead, I'm just not very high on the horse. The blinkers thing throws me because it's not like he's first-time blinkers. I think he's third-time blinkers. They keep mistaking. They take them on, take them off, take them on, take them off. it just seems like they don't know what to do with the horse. The Santa Anita Derby, it doesn't look all that strong in retrospect. Obviously, 2 of the top 3 got scratched. The one who did run didn't run at all. So I just don't know what to make of that race. So my opinion in this race is to be against him, not so much against Mage, but he's just not worth a bet. And I think First Mission might be.
Real quick closers. You've got Blazing Sevens third, Craig. Paul and I have Perform third. None of us have Red Route 1 in the top 3. Talk about Blazing Sevens a little bit. I'll show the PPs and then we'll let you go, Craig.
Yeah, Blazing Sevens. I mean, who knows what happened when he came back in the Fountain of Youth. He just did no running whatsoever that day. But I actually thought his Bluegrass was okay. At least he almost got back to his 2-year-old figures. His figures on Timeform U.S. looked the same as the buyers. So I thought he ran okay. And I picked him third because I don't like National Treasure. And I think he's got another forward move in him. I just don't know that it's a forward move. Oh, sorry about my dog, Mason.
What? The dog loves Blazing Sevens. I'll tell you. Here he is here. Craig, I don't know. I had early voting last year. I liked cloud computing. This horse to me just doesn't seem to be like one of those types. This is not a strong effort to me. I mean, maybe he needed this race. I don't know, but I've never thought distance was going to be his friend. And I know Paul originally liked Blazing Sevens in the Belmont months ago, but I don't know, Craig. I just don't feel like this is that like progressive Chad Brown type that wants more distance. He's never run that way. I actually would prefer him in like the turnback and like the Woody Stevens or something, but I could be completely wrong. Chad has confidence in him, Paul. I just don't. I don't like this horse.
Yeah, he supposedly is training well, and I guess you could look at his PPs and say, well, he lost to Forte 3 times, and another horse who will not be named in the Bluegrass he lost to, just because we're still licking our wounds. Hey, look, Chad, you mentioned the 2 horses, Howard. Chad has done this twice in the last 5 runnings, I believe.
And I'm showing Perform also, Paul. Sorry, but God, here's Perform. You go ahead and finish your thought, then talk.
Well, Perform, this is, I don't know who he's beaten other than Coffee with Chris, but this was just a ridiculous trip. We showed it the other night. He got in 5 races worth of trouble and still won this race. So, I think he's got a decent shot to round it out. And the only other thing I'd say about First Mission, somehow, folks, this 7 is going to win this race, so don't stop watching. It really is an unbelievable effort. Jean-Claude Killy in the slalom course. He's out. He's in. Oh, he's going to stay on the rail. No, maybe not. Maybe
here's Coffee with Chris, by the way, the one.
Up, back out to the slalom, up the giant slalom, and he gets up. First Mission in that race, Howard, the one thing that we probably should mention more extensively is, Irad was being Irad on Arabian Lion in that race, right? And for First Mission to be the horse on the inside with only 2 career races, having Irad, and hats off to Luis Saez for just making like Irad wasn't there and just kept riding in a straight line. But that race, he really got an education in that race, the School of Hard Knocks, but he got a real education in addition to running well. So enough about him. But I think Perform's got a decent shot to run third. And as a matter of fact, Red Route 1 is going to run fourth. So your cold super is going to be 8-3-6-5.
Well, there's Craig. There's the cold super. Just go to the bank right there. Listen, Craig, we really appreciate being on the show and taking all this time. Any final thoughts for the viewers or listeners for the races on Saturday at Pimlico?
Let's just hope we have a good day for horse racing. It seemed like the Derby was kind of a downer with all the horse things going on and scratches. And let's just hope that we have some good horse races, some competitive races, and some good prices. Hopefully we gave out some winners, but above all, let's just hope for some good, clean racing.
Well, Craig, you mentioned War Emblem. If you have 30 seconds, I got to bring on someone who knows War Emblem very well. Our good friend from Hawthorne Racecourse, Jim Miller. Jim, say hi to Craig Wilkowski.
Craig, you and I have talked numerous times on Twitter in the past, so good to see you in person, my friend.
Yeah, you as well, Jim. I'm going to stick around and flip over to YouTube and watch you guys finish it up.
Well,
All right. Thanks a lot, Craig. We
Craig.
love to have you on again. We really appreciate it. And good luck this weekend, Craig.
Yeah, thanks. You guys too. It was a joy. You guys make it so easy.
Great.
Thanks.
Glad you enjoyed it. Take care, Craig. Bye-bye. All right. Jim Miller is here. Paul, we'll let you just stay on here for just a second. Jim, let's just get right to it. Hold on. We gotta bring the banner up. I feel like I'm disrespecting you here. Unintentionally. Director of Racing, Jim Miller. Jim, we've already got a cold superfecta from our good friend up here, Paul Halloran. Give it to us. Who should we be betting in the Preakness?
So you're going to hate my picks then, according to what you guys said.
Uh-oh.
I picked National Treasure to win the race.
What?
So, you know what? Here's what it could be. I didn't hear all of your analysis. I'm just looking at race complexion, and here's the way I see the race complexion. And I could be completely wrong. I think Coffee with Chris makes the lead and makes the lead rather easily. I think First Mission sits right behind, probably with National Treasure. I think they cruise along. I expect Coffee with Chris to actually run on in the lane and hang on for a piece. I picked that horse third. I think National Treasure runs by. I picked First Mission to finish second. Perform ran a huge race, but in that race, Coffee with Chris was pushed every step of the way on the front end. I don't know if that's going to happen in the Preakness or not, because First Mission doesn't need the lead. National Treasure doesn't need the lead either. I think they're both getting the stalking trip, and I could be completely wrong because I just saw Paul give us the cold superfecta, and it did not include two of those three horses.
Listen, if Baffert wins a big race with blinkers on going wire to wire, will I be shocked? Absolutely not. But Jim, he's never done it with this horse, and
but I don't think he's going to be wire to wire. I think he has the stalk to win.
Well, he hasn't really passed. We'll see. He hasn't passed horses in one, but maybe it's the blinkers on that's going to do the trick. Look, Baffert wants to win this race real bad. I just don't know if this is the horse to do it, Jim. But it's not like he's been far off Practical Move and Hopkins and some others. I guess a lot of it depends on how good you think the West Coast horses are, Jim. And I'm not sure they're as good as some of the others in this crop. I could be completely wrong, though.
Here's the other thing, though. How good is this race? I mean, it's not a great race. 17 of the 18 Derby horses who acquired all these points to get into the Kentucky Derby aren't in this race. And the winner took a week to decide if they even wanted to run in this race. So really, how good is this race? This could be a secondary type of race, which turns out to be a bunch of horses that may be allowance horses, lower level grade 3 type of stakes horses throughout the course of the career. Maybe one or two emerge to be really good race horses. We don't know, but it's not a strong race. So that's the thing. You're looking at clearly probably your third tier of 3-year-olds right now with Mage in there. And we don't know if Mage truly even wanted to be in there. That's like we said, Ravelli last week. He said he would not have run with 2 fills, even if coming out of it, because of everything to get to the Derby and then 2 weeks and that for the return. So it very easily could have been 18 of 18 Derby horses not running in the Preakness too.
But one of the reasons I don't like National Treasure is I think First Mission is the real deal. And I think First Mission
and it could be.
Will end up being, Jim, one of the best in this crop. When it comes around Travers time, Paul Halloran, we hear First Mission is the favorite. Don't be surprised. So I think he could be that good. I could be wrong. Just Brad Cox has been a little bit cheeky with him, and he's been pretty quietly confident with his horse, Paul. I have a feeling he's sitting on an absolute keg of dynamite, and he could win by several on Saturday. I really believe in this horse, Paul. Paul, as we let you go, any final thoughts? And then Jim and I will talk Hawthorne.
No, I just hope he's running. You know, I shut my mouth off with the Forte stuff, and apparently there was something to it. So I don't know. I mean, I almost texted someone who would know, and I said, I just can't be, who knows? I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't seen anything from guys like Grinning and guys that are down there, Tim Wilkins. So I'm going to assume he's running until they tell me he's not running.
We've got in Opva who's this person that's chatted before said it's a vet scratch.
Okay, comma according to. I mean, I hate to be Joe. I hate to be Joe journalist. I hate to be Joe journalist here, but
no, you are a journalist, Paul. And Jim, listen, you wear a lot of hats, right? Unless we hear it from someone in DRF or someone really established, I'm just not going to believe it until I get some real established proof, Jim.
I've gotten to the time where unless I hear it out of the mouths of the stewards who are giving me the official scratch, I'm not believing it.
There we go. All right. Well, Paul, will let you go. Paul, thanks again. Good luck with your bets on Saturday, Paul. Take care. All right, Jim, thanks for your patience. Just rock and roll real quick. We're going to talk about the pick 4 at Hawthorne. Don't go anywhere, people. The Hawthorne pick 4 last Sunday, Jim. Whoa. This had to frustrate you like the Dickens, because it frustrated me because I liked your ticket. I played a similar ticket. I singled the one. You did a great all ball in the first race last Sunday. Got, I think, the longest shot on the board, 15-16 to 1. Yep. Fantastic judgment of that particular race. And then the gun runner, Colt, who we were worried about, just ends up winning by 4 or 5 and freaking. And the one still got a little bit of a passive ride, but really had no chance in that race.
Well, and here's the thing that was really weird about it, because the key to that race was the other horse that the trainer of the one had in that race, a horse by the name of Uncle Nick, because he was the horse that was supposed to keep the pace on us.
Yeah.
And when he didn't, it kind of compromised the chances of his own horse in the race. So that was the thing that made things really tough in there. But it was hard because when you all ball and you get that price, and then after that, the horse you're supposed to feel confident about just doesn't get the trip you're hoping for, it's a little bit frustrating for sure.
It is. And then there was price. I think we both had I didn't have the fourth leg either, but anyway, paid $2,700, everyone. So if you're thinking about, I'm just going to bet Pimlico, I don't care about Hawthorne this Sunday, guys, the pick 4 last Sunday paid $2,700 for 50 cents. And that was with a $5 horse in there also. So you can get prices at Hawthorne. Let's get right to it.
This is a fun sequence too.
A real fun sequence.
Yeah.
You see Jim's picks on the bottom of the screen for all 4 races. Very quickly, Jim, I'm going to show the PPs also. The first leg of the pick 4. Oh, that's not the right one. Here we go. Race 5. The pick 4 on Sunday is optional allowance, 40,000. Real nice. And they're on the turf. And the weather's going to be just fine here in Chicago area. The rail is out 20 feet. You've got a field of 10. Morning line favorite is the number 7. Dowager Chief, who I've actually bet before for Amos and Mojica, but you are going, that is who you're going with. Go ahead.
And that is who you have to go with. I mean, Tom Amos is picking his spots. He's not putting the horse in for the tag, so he's there to win. And this is a horse that can show speed, and when the rail's all the way out, usually is a little bit more of a front-end type of turf course. We saw a horse wire him in the last today with the rail all the way to the outside. And look at the company that this horse has kept. I mean, you're looking at grade 2s. You're looking at grade 3s. The Jeff Ruby Stakes last year. I mean, you had the 1 start at Keeneland this year. You know how tough the Keeneland meet is. This is an easier spot than that. But I just think the horse cruises along on the front end. Should be pretty tough. You have some other solid horses in here. The 4 Protonic Power ran in the Hawthorne Derby last year and then followed that race up and ran a really good race in an allowance victory just a couple of starts after that. So that's a horse that ran a solid race on the main track. And then right below that, the 5 Captivating Moon. This is another horse that's run in Stakes Company throughout the course of its career and has held its own in Stakes Company too. So has some ability, needs some pace to chase. But the logical horses, I think, get the job done there in race number 5.
I have to say, before we move on, the job that Chris Block did with Captivating Moon was absolutely fantastic. This horse won $655,000 is just absolutely amazing. And he also won at some monster prices. So we'll see what Mickey Goldfine can do. His best races are probably behind him. He's in for 40, but that's just a really cool horse for Lothenbach. Let's go on to the next race here as I sort of switch them up.
Yeah, you go from optional 40 to maiden 62.50.
Hey, well, listen, you gotta, there's races of all kinds at Hawthorne. Sometimes you get some higher class, sometimes not as much, but that's okay. Maiden 62.5, just like you said. Let me go full screen. You got a field of 11, though. It is a big field. Moorline favorite is a Calbred, the number 5, Stan, the cameraman. I love it. For Poulos, and Bendizu is a nice young jockey. You're going with Devilish Hour and Archie bred for Robertson.
Yeah, I think this is a race that you try to beat the favorite. Stan the cameraman has had multiple opportunities to get the job done. Kind of had things its own way on the front end of that last out and couldn't win. But the 8-horse Devilish Hour, look at the races they're coming out of. Yes, it's an Archie bred, but this is a horse that, again, at Oaklawn Park, Arkansas bred horses are getting a little bit better. And no, the horse didn't run great by any means, but this is bottom-level maidens at Hawthorne. This is a horse that has a little bit of tactical speed. Stan the cameraman's going to show some speed. There's a couple of others that could push things along a little bit. So I'm going to use that one. And then the 7, Santino's Fantasy, another horse that should be able to rate up close. But you see Stan the cameraman, that last out, they didn't go that fast up front, and the horse still couldn't hold on. They were 23-1, 47 to the half. That's the race the horse should have won at even money and couldn't do so. So if they couldn't do it there, I'm going to try to beat him on my ticket here.
D. Poulos doesn't claim a lot of horses,
No.
but is pretty good doing it, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, D does pretty good, and it's a really good owner. A guy that claims with a few different trainers and does really well. A guy by the name of Tim Kinlan with Dundalk 5. But yeah, D does not claim a whole lot of horses, but we'll just kind of have to see again. It's a speed horse that probably should have already broken its maiden and it hasn't been able to do so just yet.
Jim, what do you do in general with a horse? I know you have the 8 on top, but just overall, forget about this race. When you have a horse like double or triple jumping downward, even in a maiden race, I always am a bit negative, especially when the horse, like second time off the layoff, this is an Archie bred. If the horse has any talent at all, you'd think they would try to find even like a cheaper maiden special in like Mahoning or somewhere to keep his condition and not sell him, because if he's got any talent at all, there's so much money in the Arkansas bred program. This is just, I respect your opinion. Obviously he can win. Just for me, that's a little bit of a negative. Just want to get your overall opinion on that.
And a little bit, that's the hardest thing, though, about having Arkansas breds is when Oaklawn ends, now you're waiting all the way till December to be able to even run a restricted race. So if you don't feel this is a horse that's going to be an allowance horse, then you're probably going to have run, say, 4, 5, 6 races up until you even get that opportunity to run at Oaklawn again. So because of that, if the horse is going to be okay, you're working your way through conditions. So I just kind of think that's what it's going to be. This could be break your maiden for 62.50, then it's a 62.50 non-2, a 62.50 non-3. And then if you end up still with the horse back in Arkansas, the other thing that you'll find is a lot of those lower level claiming races, they're just excluded from consideration when you're running back against some of these upper level claimers. We do that at Hawthorne for like the non-winners of 3 condition. Non-winners of 3 for 25,000. Races for 12, 5 or less just aren't considered. So it allows the horse a chance to run through conditions a little bit more as well.
Jim, I just said one of the major host fails in the 260 episodes of this show. I did not bring up the pick 5 for Paul and I. I got to do it. People are complaining.
Yes, you got to do it.
All of you in the chat, you are absolutely right. I greatly apologize to everyone listening and watching. I hope those of you that dropped off will go back and listen to the show. I got to retweet it out. I don't know what. I was so excited to get to you, Jim. I forgot about to give the damn pick 5. So, Jim, if you just indulge for just a second.
Go for it.
Again, greatly apologize to everyone out there. It was unintentional. Paul's pick 5 is 2, 3, 6, 7, 9 with 1, 3, 5, 10, 13 with 2, 7, 8, 10 with 9 with 3, 8. He's got $100. Again, of course, this is Pimlico. $100 pick 5. He's singling Nagarok. That's his opinion. Paul Halloran, when you hear this, apologies to you also. Jim Miller, got to remember 1:22 is the time on the YouTube feed, so I can tweet it out because I majorly screwed up there. My pick 5 is a $96 ticket at Pimlico on Saturday. 2, 3, 6, 7, 1, 3, 10, 13, 2, 7, 8, 1, 5, 8, 9. I'm going all in, assuming he's running, all in on First Mission. I love this horse. I believe in this horse. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. He's going to be 5-2, maybe 3-1 if there's National Treasure money coming in. I love the fresh face here. I'm going all in on First Mission. All right, let's get back to the pick 4. Where
all right.
Go ahead,
so
Jim.
before we do that, I know just scrolling through Craig Milkowski, I saw put a note up that said, don't let Jim off without one good baseball story. So remind me to close out when we get to that. We'll close out with a real quick one for you.
Great. Ralph Conti, you do not have to pay for the pick 5. We just gave it to you. Again, great apologies to everyone. Everyone can give me as much crap as you want. Host fail. I'm human, Jim. It happens. What the hell? We are live. I think you know what live TV is about, Jim, right?
Yeah, we'll allow it for you.
All right. Race 7. Hey, we got a stake race, the third chance. And it's 6 furlongs, older fillies and mares for Illinois breds. Nice field here. You got a really nice horse here, the number 5. I'll let you pronounce the name because I've screwed up her name several times. Mojica Goldfine 7-5. Real nice horse. That's who you're going with on top.
Yeah, and people are asking why you're seeing Mickey Goldfine. Well, it's for the reason that Chris Block did have a medication violation where he's serving, I believe, 15 days. So because of that, Mickey Goldfine's taken over the training of the horses. You look at this horse. This horse runs on anything. turf, dirt. I think there's might even be a synthetic victory in there. It doesn't really matter. Open company, state bred company. It's just a very solid racehorse. Look at her career. I mean, she's earned over $500,000 in 18 starts. So she's very good at Hawthorne. She's 5 of 7 in the win column. Going to be very tough to beat. The curious thing for me in this race, and the only thing that could possibly beat her, is the 3 Percy and the 8 Cat Attack. Both come from the barn of Michelle Boyson. They're both the same running style type of racehorse. So I'm really curious to see what they choose to do. If Percy chooses to go and Cat Attack rates, or vice versa, I think that might be their way to possibly team up and try to win a race, because it's the same ownership too. So you have to kind of watch and see that a little bit. It may not matter. They may not be good enough to defeat this horse, but those are the 2 that I would watch out for. But Au revoir is going to be very tough. This is a very good racehorse.
Yeah, I've actually bet her the last.
Yeah,
I bet her 2 back at Keeneland. I thought she was a bit interesting at Churchill, ran better. This is a huge drop down, but she looks like she's better on turf. So this is sort of a, and she's coming back quickly. This is interesting. To me, this is an absolute stone cold single, or you just try to beat her.
Yeah,
those situations.
You have to take a stance. You have to, one way or the other. I took the stance on the single on my ticket.
I agree. Race 8, last one of the pick 4 on Sunday at Hawthorne. Maine specialty, the back on the turf. I love Maine races on the turf, by the way. It's one of my favorite kind of races because there are many angles, Jim, that people miss. So I like maiden 2-turn turf rates. For some reason, I'm very good at those. I'm crappy at other kind of races, but I love those. It's a field of, what do we got here? Field of 10. With the morning line favorite is the number 4, Aquacat. For Rodriguez and Julio Felix, an excellent rider on turf or dirt. You're going with the 10. Love the name. Mo Time at All for Joel Burnt.
Hopefully you can help me with this race, because this is a really tough race. And you'll see when we get to my pick 4 ticket, I use so many horses. Here's the thing about Mo Time at All. It's a 6-year-old gelding that just started racing this year. But then the races weren't bad at fairgrounds. I mean, a couple of turf races to start things out. This was a $200,000 purchase back in 2018. But breeding suggests the horse is okay. All right, the race at Keeneland, that's probably not where they wanted to be. They probably want to be on the turf. But it's just, you look at figures-wise, the horse fits with anybody else. Joel Burnt's having a very good meet. I mean, he's winning at a 20% clip. 13 of 24 in the money, as you see right there on the screen. So this is a horse that I did use in the mix. I think you'll get a decent price. I'm curious about a couple of other horses. I'm curious about the 7, 3 rough shots in there, because that's another one that I think is really bred to handle the grass. And that's a horse that really did nothing in its first start out. And then the 9 out of deductions. But the 7 horse is kind of intriguing to me, because this is another one of those Hugh Robertson runners who I just tend to wonder if their last start out, did they basically just kind of need a race? And that's the thing.
Look at the breeding. Hello.
Yeah. I mean, this horse has ability on the turf, I think, and I think that's what they're waiting for is turf.
Art Fan, Macaroni Art was a decent turf horse. A Happy Face ran on the turf. Ton of turf breeding, and he's not. Is he? How old is he?
This horse is a 3-year-old. Yeah,
he's a little boy. This is a fascinating race. The first time I had a chance to look through the PPs in detail.
Look at the breeding on the 8. The 8 horse might be okay on the grass as well too.
A Gioponte, sure.
Yeah, and you're definitely going to get a price on that horse. And those connections, Olaf Fernandez for Manny Perez won a race on the grass today with similar breeding.
My quick thoughts about the 10.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just looking for the first time, Jim, to be honest. I can't bet 6-year-olds in a maiden race, even though he's lightly raced and he's run okay. It's hard for me to believe he's going to improve. Now, will a low 60s buyer win this race? I suppose that's possible, but for me as a gambler, I much prefer to go with like the 7 as a fuzzy than the 10, who we know what he is already, and he's 6. I mean, looking at Aquacat absolutely fit. Could go wire to wire.
And you'll see when you see my ticket. I mean, I use 6 in the race for my pick 4 ticket, so that's kind of what I thought of the race too.
I mean, if Cool and Collected gets in, a 3-year-old,
definitely.
4 Prado, this is nice breeding too.
Yeah, the 9 horse, the other Goldfine trained horse. This is a horse that ran on the grass at Tampa in its debut and ran a respectable race there. And that was a
Yep.
horse that got away a step slowly. So maybe another one that could be a little bit of a factor
Tough
also.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough race. Let's go to your by the way, David Barista likes the 5 mining
Yep.
camp. So I mean, listen, you could go a lot of different ways in this race for sure. Let's get to your pick. I know I got it somewhere. I'm sort of I screwed up the pick 5 and now I'm a little bit verklempt here. All right.
122 is your mark for your pick 5s, Howard. I made a note of it for you, buddy.
There we go. I appreciate it. Jim, your late pick 4, always inexpensive and always a very smart pick 4 as well. 4, 5, 7, 7, 8. Ceiling or Fab the 5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hopefully you can get that last race, Jim. You're going 6 deep and get a price to cash.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, race number 5 is a really solid racer. Horses that are stakes horses that have ability and for the optional 40. That's why I'm using those 3. Try to beat the favorite in race number 6. If you can beat Stan the Cameraman, I think you have the ability to cash a little bit of a ticket. Ovar in the 7th is definitely going to be a heavy favorite and has to be a single that you take a stance on. And then if you can catch one of those prices, all we saw last week, you just beat 1 or 2 favorites and you can have a really nice return on these pick 4s. Just a 15% takeout. So I think we're going to find some value there in race number 8.
Real quick with I didn't want. Oh, I actually had Pimlico up. That's okay. We don't mind Pimlico. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. It's a big weekend.
There we go. We got to go with Hawthorne. I've been. I give myself a C- for my production efforts tonight. Jim, as we close out, real quick with the rail out a little bit. Do you want to talk about that? We didn't really indulge on how the rail out might affect these turf races.
Rail out on the turf, it kind of changes the way the turns are in that. It leads a little bit more to speed. It makes it very hard on horses to kind of make that big swooping move to close. See that a little bit more when the rail is in 20 feet. And the rail is going to be out not only Sunday, but for one more week after, because we're only going 2-day racing weeks. So you have to make notes about that, because not only for position for where these horses run now, but maybe by their next start out, the rail's 20 feet in, and it's really going to kind of change the complexion of the race and how things unfold. So definitely watch out for that.
Jim Miller, we really appreciate it. Again, anyone who's watching, just want to watch the last. Baseball story, Jim.
Craig Milkowski asked for a baseball story.
All right,
okay.
Do it for Craig.
We'll make it very quick. My very first day of professional baseball. All right, for those that don't know, I played 4 years professionally in the Milwaukee Brewers system. I'm playing for the Helena Brewers. We're in Great Falls, Montana, playing against the Great Falls Dodgers. Great Falls Dodgers manager is a guy that you may know by the name of Mickey Hatcher. So Mickey Hatcher, who is the guy who everybody famously remembers as crawling into home plate in the World Series and just kind of being a playful kind of guy, he had a tradition that we as players never knew about at all. The fans in Great Falls all knew it. So what the tradition was, opening day, you have rookie umpires, rookie baseball players, Mickey Hatcher's coaching third. First pitch of the game, their pitcher throws it right down the middle. All right. The umpire misses it. All right. Calls it a ball. Mickey loses his mind. Crowd goes nuts. And as per tradition, Mickey Hatcher always wanted to get kicked out on the first pitch of the season each and every year. So he turns bright red. We are all babyface kids, have no idea what we're looking at. We're wide-eyed as can be. And we're like, is this what minor league baseball is going to be all about? We come to find out, talking to their guys, that all he wanted to do was go back to the clubhouse, kick his feet up and drink a beer and let them figure it out for game number 1. But he did that each and every year. So thought that was pretty cool, but none of us knew at the time.
Wow. I did not. I'll give you a baseball story. My brother and I went to the Louisville Slugger Museum on Derby weekend. Really cool place, and held like bats of like Lou Gehrig. Have you been? I'm assuming you've been there. Have you been to that museum?
Yep.
What a cool museum.
Yeah.
I mean, you're holding bats that freaking Lou Gehrig held. I mean, It was crazy. It was just a really cool place. I highly recommend, Jim, right? For anyone, especially if you got kids that like baseball, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I coach baseball. I coach 16-year-olds right now. So it's fun. They're a good group of kids.
Absolutely. Jim Miller, really appreciate it. Again, thanks for being patient. I know we brought you on a little bit late, but it was Preakness Day. Good luck to everyone out there. Tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, the Preakness. Again, if you missed our pick 5s, go to about the 122 mark of this show. We forgot to bring it on before we brought on Jim Miller, but the pick 5s are there on the show. It's been episode 260 for Jim Miller, for Paul Halloran, Craig Wilkowski. It's been your host, Howard Kravitz. Good luck to everyone this weekend on Preakness Weekend. Take care, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.